All right, so today I have a pretty good one. This one's Hybrid Boxing's multi-layer horsehair boxing glove. Um, this glove's made in Pakistan. It's also 16 ounces, and the 16-ounce indicator is right here. Very small indicator, 16 ounces, but it does exist. It's there. Um, Not too bad. I will say I want to weigh these here. They do feel a smidge light, but it just could be the balance of the glove. But we'll see. Um, this is 15.63, and this one is 15.38. Okay, so they both don't weigh the same. One of them is a little more under than I would like at 15.38, but it's not too bad. This one's okay because 15.6 is not a bad one. I have some winning gloves that were 15.6 and no one really cared, and most of the time winning gloves are like that anyways. So yeah, so the weight is not too bad. These are made in Pakistan, like I said. The leather is going to be a premium cowhide leather, and what I mean by premium is that it definitely feels different than your average, let's say, like a really cheaply made glove. I wouldn't say cheap, but just least less expensive. Let's say you have a Title Classic boxing glove, right? And you'll definitely feel the difference in leather. It's very soft. It's very thin feeling. This feels pretty thick. The leather feels really durable. So right off the bat, it doesn't feel like a cheap leather whatsoever. And it also has a cool grained leather here on the thumb that I really like. As you can see right there, I'm a big fan of grained leather, and it comes up here on this portion of the cuff here. Same thing here. Yeah, so ultimately, leather's pretty good. It's probably a little bit step above, like, the lower end level. It definitely feels like it's more premium for sure. The liner is a satin liner, and this liner is pretty nice, I will say. I like the satin liner feel. It feels nice here, but on these sides right here, I don't know if this is necessarily the same thing. There's two different feelings, right? You have this liner, and then you have this inner portion liner, which is a softer liner, kind of feels like a tricot. This feels like, your hands slide in well, but it feels like this is supposed to maintain the hand comfort right there in the wrist. So I don't know. I don't really feel it, in terms of whether or not you sweat a lot in the glove. I don't feel that either. I think the glove does a really good job in terms of moisture wicking. So I do like that. The padding of the glove is a 4-layer padding. This padding is going to be this high density foam, EVA, horsehair, and a latex. So in terms of ultimately the padding of the glove, is interesting because this has a decent thickness to it. But the glove doesn't necessarily feel like this crazy horsehair glove. I could hear it, and I could tell a little bit, but ultimately this kind of has a feel of a medium density foam glove. If you were to probably tell somebody like, oh, this is a horsehair glove, they probably wouldn't really know. But I actually like the padding of these gloves a lot. I'll get into how they feel later on in the video, but pretty good. In terms of size profile, I would say this glove is on the compact side, okay? It's on the slimmer side. In terms of the height, I think it's kind of normal size for the height, but in terms of the slim size, it's a tad bit slim. So I'd say medium to compact in terms of the sizing of the glove, which I think a lot of people would appreciate. I think a lot of people do like a compact type glove. This one's kind of giving me that feel. It doesn't feel super compact, but it doesn't feel big at all. It feels kind of medium to compact. The style, I like the style of the glove. They have the cool, green and black accents here. This logo is really nice. But the one thing I think I like mostly about the style of the glove is this cuff. This cuff kind of reminds me of like a Phenom cuff a little bit. You know, I don't know. I like a flat cuff, but this kind of has some type of ridge a little bit to help you out with the lacing. Not that I actually use this portion of it, but it exists. But I will say that, yeah, I like the style of the cuff. I do like the style of the thumb as well. The grained leather on the thumb is pretty cool. In terms of the thumb itself, very nice thumb. I love thumbs like this. Thumbs that actually come inward like that, instead of thumbs that just kind of stick out. I like the look of the thumb. I think ultimately, I would say like this palm portion kind of has a lot of, I would say like Mexican style influence in terms of this inner palm here with all this padding. I think that's pretty cool too. I would say that there's not too much. Well, I would say maybe there's probably an inch of pad. I don't know. Maybe it's pretty medium density here, and it's not too soft. So it does protect the back of your hand a little bit, or the back of the wrist. I think it does a pretty good job there. This one is, I would say, a little bit softer, on the softer side. Very malleable here. So the padding itself is just kind of, it's not as packed in as I would think it would be, but it's, it's there, it exists. But it does allow you to essentially move your hands and your wrist, which I think a lot of people do like. So it's not knocking the glove, it's just essentially something that is a little bit different. The piping is the black, very small kind of piping black, and just black piping everywhere. It's nothing, no special effects here. I will say the stitching is done very, very well. I think it's very, very clean. You could see that there's no issues with the stitching in this glove whatsoever. It's kind of pretty, it's pretty amazing at that point, when you start seeing how clean this glove is. They did a really good job in terms of that. There's probably a little excess amount of material here on the thumb piping that's not necessarily on this one. I don't know if you could even tell, or you could see it. It's very, very minimal for people who are, super crazy about that kind of thing. Not a big deal for me. In terms of the grip bar, straight grip bar, straight across, very, very soft, and kind of on the small side. I know it looks kind of big, but when you actually feel it inside of the grip bar, it feels like some soft cloth or something. Very soft. And the air holes on the bottom here, very soft, very small as well. I could barely see them at first, but I ended up finding them. 3 on the bottom, none on top up, and then we have a couple here. I would say maybe 5 on the thumb. Yep, small thumb attachment right here, placed in a really good way. It definitely doesn't jam your thumb at all. What else? I will say, ultimately, the comfort. Oh, actually, no. Let me get into the laces. I think one of the cons of this glove ultimately is going to be how small these laces are. I think this is a little too short. I use a lot of the time the lace and loops and stuff like that, but ultimately, I think that yeah, I mean, this got to be bigger and longer, in my opinion. I like longer laces. This is just far, far, far too short, but that's just my opinion. The comfort of the inside of the glove, I would say, is very, very good. Right away, I can automatically feel it's very comfortable. When I put my hands inside, it doesn't feel too hot. It kind of has a cooling effect, actually. And as you can see, right off the bat, there's a nice flat punch surface there. I'm not moving my hands up and down, just so you can see. But ultimately, the glove is pretty broken in. It probably took a little time to break them in. Not too much time, because it does have horsehair in it, and it does feel like, it probably only took like 1 session to get it to be even like this. But you can see right here what I was talking about earlier. You could really manipulate the wrist, right? Some people might like that, some people might not, but I could manipulate it very well. So even if I'm like, if you're pushing someone or manipulating them or clinching them, this is a pretty good glove for that. Which I do like to do that. I do like to have kind of free range on my hands a lot of the time. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I want it to be really firm, but sometimes, I'll put these on and think, I could start moving the bag and manipulating it like it's a person. But yeah, ultimately the thumb is probably one of my favorite parts of the glove too. Very, very good thumb. As you can see, there's no pulling. That's really impressive. I've been having a lot of gloves that pull the tip, and this glove seems like they did a really good job on this thumb portion, which is really impressive. I will say that I don't feel the grip bar at all. So as I'm making a fist here, I don't feel the grip bar. I think it's too soft and too small. I'd rather feel the grip bar a little more. I don't feel it at all. In terms of the secondary, there's no secondary grip bar on the fingertips. This is pretty much just like a flat piece. I don't know if it's neoprene, but it's pretty much a flat piece, and it feels good. The only thing I would say is that because I'm really like having gloves that you can manipulate your hands up and down. These ones, you could do it like I'm doing it right now, but I also feel that my fingers are sliding with the liner on the inside, and I don't like that feeling so much. I wish the liner was tighter on the fingertip compartment, so then I don't have to feel like my hands are kind of swimming in liner. But yeah, that'll be another thing that I would say I would like to fix a little bit, but ultimately nothing big. A lot of gloves have that. It's just I'm nitpicking at that point. But yeah, very comfortable glove. As you can see, this is me opening my hands all the way up, and you can actually see, because right then my finger slid with the liner, and right now my finger is like up here when it should be here. So yeah, so I'm trying to push my fingers to the end, but it keeps sliding upward. So that's something that's why I don't really like slippery liners or liners that you know, move with your fingers. But I will say it makes a really good fist, as you can see. Really good fist. The punch surface a tad bit rounded, but it's not bad, and the knuckles are actually placed in a pretty good spot. So you see how this is, some gloves you'll see that they'll kind of start to punch at this portion. This portion will be more pushed out than this one. This one's pretty good. It goes pretty much to where your knuckles are, so when you hit, it's pretty satisfying. I think this glove is, the more I used it, the more I start to like it. You know what I mean? That's that kind of glove. I don't know. It's just me, but I definitely appreciate, you know, I guess the dynamics of the glove, like how the glove's shaped. It definitely is comfortable. It makes you feel like when you are hitting the bags, that you're actually being really precise, which I think that's what I like the most. It gives me that nice feeling like I'm kind of being more accurate, I guess. Maybe because of the slim profile, especially when I put my knuckle guards on, the glove itself gets a little more slim too. So, and I also, it just gets, it feels better with knuckle guards on anyways. I feel like most gloves do feel better with knuckle guards, but I do know that there's a lot of us out there that don't use them. But you should definitely start using them, because it does help. It does feel better. But yeah, ultimately the padding, I would say, is on the medium side, and I would say that it does have a little bit of crack. Not the most crack though. It's not the most pop, but I do think you could break these in even more so than I did. Even as you can see right here, like it does have a good amount of give, and it did have a decent amount of pop too. So just FYI. And the feedback is to me, the padding is very protective, is what I'm trying to say. So when I think of horsehair gloves, a lot of times I think that your knuckles are going to pierce all the way through, and you're going to end up, you know, having that feeling of all that feedback. These ones are very protective. There was not one time I thought I was going to hurt my hand. So they did a good job. But I would say it's more on the protective side as of right now. This is definitely something you could definitely spar in for sure. You know, very safe. I believe it's an all-around, pretty much an all-around training glove, to be honest with you. And I think it's for people mostly who really like to manipulate their hands as well. You know, I think the biggest thing about this glove that I would say that people are going to like is probably the price. I think right now, as of right now, only way you can get these gloves is if you actually go on Hybrid Boxing's Instagram, which I will have on the description. But it's $130 US dollars for a custom glove. So you don't have to get this. There's no stock colors. There's just a bunch of customs. You can make this all whatever color you want to make it. You know what I mean? That's the cool thing about it. For $130, I don't know many custom gloves that will do $130, so that's pretty crazy. I believe that's the price now. I don't know if it will change, but in terms of pricing, $130 for a custom glove is pretty good. So I will say, final thoughts, I think this is a good budget option for people, and I think, you know, obviously it's good quality. I would put it up there with some good gloves. It's very competitive at $130 only because we have other gloves at the 100 to 150 mark, you know, that a lot of people know of. But you know, sometimes you got to give another company a chance, and ultimately, you know, $130 for a custom glove, it doesn't seem like a big deal to me. I think that you could definitely try these gloves out. I think a lot of people like them just because of the hand ergonomics and just the overall fit and feel. But yeah, the gloves cool. There are some things I would change. I would probably change the liner. I would change the grip bar to make it a little more stiff, and the laces need to be a lot longer. And I'm not saying the whole liner, I'm just saying the liner on the fingertip area. Okay, but yeah, I love the thumb. I love the punch surface. I love their multi-layer foam here. I love that you can manipulate your hands. I love this cuff. So there's a lot of things I do like about it. So I think overall it's a pretty good glove. That's my review.